Imagine, if you will, you're a young goalie in the NHL. You've come from one of the most beautiful areas of Saskatchewan to make it all the way to the NHL. But something is different. You're literally 19 years old. You're playing one of the most for one of the most popular original six teams of all time. And what happens? There's a guy with crazy eyes that you see out of the corner of your eye, and all of a sudden the puck's in the net. And guess what? It's his 50th goal in 50 games. Yes, Harvey Bennett Sr. is the goalie that was only, at the time, I think he was 19, that gave up the big counter that allowed Maurice Richard to establish the record that maybe a lot of people thought would never be broken, 50 goals in 50 games. Now, the goal was scored for the Montreal Canadiens in a game against the Bruins on March 18th, 1945. But, as a lot of people already know, Harvey Sr. was a lot more than just one goal in one season against rivals. That season with the Boston Bruins, he put up some dynamite numbers, 10 and 12 in 25 games, with a 4.2 average, where Boston was beginning to rebuild. Now, you got to remember, that was the 1940 dynasty of the Montreal Canadiens, where the only people that Montreal could defeat Montreal was themselves. Now, Harvey Sr., born in Edmonton, Saskatchewan, 6 feet 180, was a hometown hero in Boston for sure, but for the Providence Reds of the AHL. He was their number one goalie literally for almost a decade, where he put up some terrific numbers over a number of seasons. Now, the 25 games with Boston led to him to play with the Boston Olympics of the AHL over 2 seasons, 59 games with a goals against average around 3. Now, he first shifted to the AHL in 47 for the Hershey Bears, 60 games. But then his prominence with Providence began. Between 1948 and 1955, ladies and gentlemen, 63, 67, 60, 57, 47, 58, 59, and 48 games. 56 and 57, 58, played a few games, jumped to the Trois-Rivières Lions of the QHL, back to the Reds for 10 games in 59, then with the Washington Presidents of the AHL. But at the time, ladies and gentlemen, one of the most respected and feared goalies in the league, because he brought Providence's offense to the fore. When Providence was rolling on the offense, they were secure in the fact that Harvey Sr. was on the back end, ready to make the save if need be. And we look at his great seasons, especially between 48 and 50. And his playoff run in 49, obviously, Calder Cup championship worthy, as well as 52. What a career he had in Providence. There's various websites, heritage pages, AHL pages that pay tribute to him. But what was interesting about Harvey, he being the patriarch of the family, eventually allowed 6 of his sons to be interested in hockey. Harvey Bennett Jr., Kurt Bennett, and Bill Bennett, who all played in the NHL, John Bennett, who played in the NHL, and Jimmy Bennett, who was a 77 draft pick of the Atlanta Flames and played professionally in the IHL with the Muskegon Mohawks, and also the old Central Hockey League with the Birmingham Bulls. Now, his youngest son Peter was also interested in hockey, but tragedy took him early. He drowned after falling through the ice. Now, the Bennetts are extremely respected within North American hockey circles, because we know for a fact that the Bennett sons have represented Team USA with distinction at numerous international events. Kurt is really a groundbreaker for a lot of these squads. Now, Harvey's son played center for Pittsburgh, Washington Flyers, St. Louis, and Minnesota for 272 National Hockey League games. Now, he was a star in Cranston of the Rhode Island system before graduated to Boston College, but his big career numbers, of course, came with Washington in those early seasons with the Capitals. He had 22 points in 49 games in 76. Now, the idea about Harvey Jr., born in Cranston, Rhode Island for obvious reasons. He was a hometown favorite throughout Rhode Island as well. And Bill, too, was a tremendous hockey player. Played mostly with the Bruins in the NHL, and was an AHL star for a number of teams, including Rochester, Springfield, and Hershey. Now, the indication, a lot of people said that Bill was the big drink of water that the league needed, but he didn't have that, what you call, lasting legacy like his brothers had. But at 6'5", 235 pounds, left winger, a very, very dynamite presence on the ice. 79 when Rochester put up some big points in those 5 games, and 79 with the Bruins. A very interesting look, as you say, Boston took at them, as did Hartford in 1980. So the Bennett family, it's deep. But all I know, would life have been different if he would not started that game against Maurice Richard and Maurice wouldn't have scored that 50th goal? Where would his path would have been? Because in the AHL, at the time, the AHL was a very, very strong league. The number 1, number 2 teams were comparable to number 5, number 6 in the NHL in the given season. And Harvey Bennett Sr. put AHL hockey in full focus for the people of Rhode Island, people from New England, and for that he deserves our undying respect. But the Bennett family, there's bars from Halifax to Manitoba to all over the States, Arizona, New England. When you talk about the Bennett family, when the old fans of hockey talk about that, there's many stories. I know for a fact there's saves that Harvey Sr. made for Providence. He said no other goalie could have done that. I've heard that second and third hand stories, especially something about a double breakaway where he made a save. It was literally on a 2-on-none. I have to check that out, but I wouldn't be surprised, because the only thing could stop a Bennett on the ice, it's himself. And if you see, how everybody in the family played, you know what I'm talking about. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the latest on our AHL Vintage Podcast on Providence Reds alumni. If you like what you're doing here, give us a like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget, an AHL goalie is great in a pinch, but if you need somebody to come up and teach the big players how to play goal, if you can survive the AHL from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, you know what I'm talking about. AHL had some of the best goalies, but the fact is, 6 teams, 12 teams, 14 teams, there wasn't that many jobs up north. And Jacques Plante was around forever, Glenn Hall was around forever, Charlie Hodge, Ben Diego, Turk Broda, Johnny Bauer, Terry Sawchuk. There wasn't many open jobs, and like I said, to be a number 2 in the NHL in the 1960s, you were the number 1 because there was no number 2. And I think if, let's say, he was born maybe a decade too early, if Harvey Sr. would have been around expansion, definitely would have shone with Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Philadelphia, I can guarantee it. Because some people I know that played against him, he said he was unbeatable when he was on his game. And that's true. Anyway, that's the story of Harvey Bennett Sr. Thanks for listening. Bye.